With the fourth pick in the 2022 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select Keegan Murray from the University of Iowa.
Let's get into a quick take. Mike Brown is trading in that blue and gold for purple. Brown heading to Sacramento to coach the Kings.
And the steal. They can tie it with a three. Murray, yes! A Murray miracle in the desert.
I got Keegan Murray because he's going to be on a playoff team.
Ooh.
The Kings are going to end the streak.
All right.
Have the best record of all them rookies. So Keegan Murray is going to be your rookie of the year because of that record.
On Christmas Day against Luka and the Mavs. And again, the cheers light the beam. You'll be hearing about that throughout the year with the Sacramento Kings.
And here's Fox. Over to Murray for the record. Got it! Murray emblazons himself into the history books. Nobody has made more three-pointers as a rookie than Keegan Murray.
Kev's the beam guy, so he's happy.
All right, take it back, guys.
Great timing, Steph. They light the beam. And they are loving the Kings in Sacramento. That 16-year drought is about to be over. This is going to be a fun team to watch.
The Sacramento Kings are going to the playoffs.
Ramon,
Yeah.
I keep trying to tell people, don't sleep on them. That curse is going to end. They're going to make the playoffs.
Starting to feel like 2006 up here in Sacramento again. Spins by Wiggins. Got it! And we got a whistle after the...
Let's light the beam.
This season has been more about the journey than it is anything else, about setting a wayward franchise back up. Do you guys think that even though this is a tough day, that you guys have accomplished a lot of what you guys set out to do this year?
Yeah, for sure. I'm proud of this team, every one of us, coaching staff, organization, everyone for what we did. But obviously it stings today because we did put ourselves in position where we could have kept moving and moving forward in the playoffs. So we just got to use this as motivation, to keep building.
The Sacramento Kings miraculously ended their 16-year playoff drought just last season, after their run came to a historical end against the defending champions in the Golden State Warriors, where Steph Curry put up 50 points in the Game 7 to eliminate them and advance further into the playoffs. The Kings headed into the offseason, and the Kings, led by Mike Brown, former 5th overall pick De'Aaron Fox, and more recent trade acquisition Domantas Sabonis, have continued to make moves throughout the offseason. But I think the biggest thing that we need to look at when it comes to this team is their former rookie of last year, Keegan Murray. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Now. Today we are going to jump right into the things. And today we're going to be talking about Keegan Murray, man. I think he has so much potential to really elevate his game this next season. He's a 6'8" forward, drafted out of Iowa. He was the 4th overall pick last year, and he really, really surprised a lot of people. I was super high on him when he was playing in March Madness. I really liked just his versatility defensively, as well his big-time shot-making ability. And so that's really kind of what put me on to Keegan Murray, was when I started seeing him really kind of take over in March Madness. Now, I don't remember how far Iowa ended up going that year, but I mean, he really kind of I think stepped onto the stage, and I was like, yeah, this guy's going to be a guy. Honestly, he was drafted higher than I thought he was going to go. I figured that he would slide a little bit, and he would kind of be a steal, as the likes of many recent Sacramento Kings players have been. Tyrese Halliburton is a great example of that, a guy who slid and, now with the Pacers has blossomed into an all-star player and one of the better young guards in the league. And so I thought Keegan would kind of slide as well and end up just being a good pick for wherever he went. But the Kings, they kind of saw that star potential in him, and they took the shot at 4th overall, and man, it paid off. He had such a good rookie season. He averaged 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. Played 80 games, so almost played the entire season. Shot 45% from the field, and this is the big number, 41% from 3. I mean, this man, he broke the 3-point record for rookies. He was shooting 6.3 attempts a game at a 41% clip, which is phenomenal for a guy stepping in as a rookie. The NBA line is farther back than the NCAA line, and so for him to jump in and immediately have that type of percentage and impact was huge for this team and was a big reason why they ended their playoff drought. But it wasn't just him, right? Obviously, this team has a lot of other players that were able to step up. We saw Sabonis and Fox really kind of bring that dynamic duo that you need in today's game to make the playoffs and especially to make a run. But that's not to discredit the likes of Harrison Barnes, Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, Davion Mitchell, and others who all played definitely significant roles in getting this team where they were last year. But yeah, nothing should be taken away from Mike Brown, who has been in the NBA coaching essentially since 1997. He's had former head coaching opportunities and such. Was with the Warriors for a long time, from 2016, 2017, until he just went to the Kings. And, man, he made the most of his return to being a head coach, propelling this team, I think, further than anybody thought that they would go, right? I think, your highest analyst take on this team was maybe as a 6 seed, maybe a play-in team, right? This team didn't have high expectations coming into the year. Obviously, being on a 16-game playoff drought, there wasn't much hope that they could do a lot. But they ended up finishing the season as the 3rd seed, having an incredible playoff series against the defending champions, winning 48 games, and overall just took steps and strides in a direction that I don't think anybody could have predicted before the season, even the most diehard Kings fans, which I think just based off of this last year, we know that there's diehard Kings fans. If you're able to be a fan of that organization for how long that they haven't been able to be successful in the NBA, credit to you, man. You deserve to get to watch how exciting that playoff series was, and hopefully more to come, right? But I do want to pivot back to Keegan Murray, who actually just got to see his brother get drafted to the Trailblazers in this last draft, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, this guy, he's got a lot of potential, man. He's got a lot of potential. If he can really develop kind of more go-get-it shot potential, there's no reason why he can't average 20 for this team. Like I said, you have De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, who De'Aaron last year averaged 25 points and Sabonis averaged 19. So there's no reason that he can't. Keegan can really be a third guy for them. I could even see Sabonis' points dropping down to, say, 18 or 17. He only averages 15 on his career. And even Fox regressing a little bit back towards 20 because, that year after the jump is always so much harder for that team to kind of take it to the next level when it comes to any young team. And I think you've seen that over the league over the last few years. I think the Nuggets are a great example for that, right? We struggled getting into the playoffs all the way back when Jimmy Butler was in Minnesota. He eliminated us from the playoffs, essentially in what would have been the first ever play-in game, because it was the last game of the season. Jimmy Butler was back from injury. The T-Wolves had slid from a higher playoff seed, and it was Timberwolves versus Nuggets in the final game of the season. Well, the Nuggets lost, but after that, we finally got back into the playoffs, but it took us so long until we found success, finally winning the championship this last season. But, that's a perfect example of how difficult it is to win immediately and even just win at all when it comes to the current NBA. We know how stacked the Western Conference is, and it's only continued to get more stacked. Even just look at the last 6 to 8 months. We saw Kyrie Irving be traded from the East to the West. We saw Kevin Durant be traded from the East to the West. We see that James Harden will most likely be traded from the East to the West. Now, all but Kyrie has played in the Western Conference out of those guys that I've just listed prior, but that's also being traded back into a very, very tightly congested Western Conference, in which we saw, last year there was points during the season where, the difference between the 2 seed and the 10 seed was a 1.5 game. It was literally tiebreakers that were putting you in the playoffs and putting you out of the playoffs. And Sacramento was able to kind of stand out and be towards the top of that, which a lot of credit to them. But Keegan Murray, he actually won Summer League MVP last year, so he already had a phenomenal Summer League last year before going into his rookie season. And for some reason, the Sacramento Kings just decided to, I don't know, screw over the rest of the NBA or say F you to the rest of the NBA, whatever way you want to look at it. And they put him out there to play a little bit in Vegas this year. And man, he was cooking, dude. He was cooking. He averaged like 35 points per game. He was shooting like 10 threes a game at like a 45% clip. He had a poster on the Warriors. He looked miles and miles above the rest of the players out there. And it's not like there weren't other second-year players out there. Like, there were other second-year players out there. It's not like there weren't guys that could have been at his level, but he just looked like he'd taken his game to a new level. You know what I mean? And so seeing him be able to have that confidence, not only last year, which translated into his rookie season, but to even elevate that into this summer league. I mean, last summer league, he averaged, 21 points per game, I believe. And then this year, he averaged 35. So that's a huge jump, regardless of it just being summer league, right? And so maybe that, kind of gives you a little bit of insight on the fact that he might be able to kind of translate that jump to the actual NBA court, right? Because if he can, like I said, maybe 20 is a little bit of a reach. I mean, that is an 8-point increase, which I think he would probably need to really put himself in conversations for most improved player. But even on the lesser side, what's to say he can't average 18, get a couple more rebounds? I mean, really his shooting, I don't think is going to get much better split-wise. He only shot 76% from the free throw line, so maybe that goes up a little bit. And maybe his overall field goal percentage at 45%. But, I mean, especially if he got to like a 50, 40, even 80, right? That would be up some percentages across the board except for three-point. And averages 18 points a game. He's going to be probably in that most improved player conversation. I know it's really, really hard for second-year players to win most improved player, especially recently. Like, it goes to third-year guys all the time. And what pisses me off a little bit is Ja Morant got most improved player, and it was like, we already knew. Like, you never see a guy at that caliber get most improved player, you know what I mean? You think of like the CJs of the world, where he goes from averaging like 6 to 20 points per game. What was that, his second to third year, his third to fourth year, whatever it was, where, you'd seen flashes, but you hadn't really seen him do it on a night-to-night basis throughout the whole season, and then all of a sudden, there he goes, you know what I mean? And so you think cases like that for most improved player typically. Guys that have shown flashes, which, I mean, definitely fits Keegan. Yes, quite a bit of a role player last year, so a little bit better than that. But if he stepped into a, borderline all-star role, I don't think he'd make the all-star team necessarily. And I don't think he should have to win most improved player. But yeah, that Ja Morant most improved player kind of pisses me off because it really kind of took away a little bit from the award, and it just seemed like voters wanted to give it to the biggest name guy that had a little bit of a jump, right? Which obviously, this isn't to discredit Ja Morant. I mean, he obviously improved and everything, but I don't know. I didn't really love that direction that some of the voters took the award, and I think Keegan would be also a great way to kind of reel that back into, hey, this role player took a step and really became a major piece for this team, in which we might not have considered him quite at that level the year before or prior in his career, right? I do think that second-year bias is going to make it very difficult for him, which is why I say for him to win it, he's probably got to average 20 points per game. If he averages 20 on 50, 40, 90, he's definitely got to get it. I mean, he'd have my vote. I would like to see him get closer to a double-double. I'd like his rebounding numbers to go up. I know Sabonis is a monster on the glass. He averaged almost 13 rebounds per game last year. So he's a monster on the glass. But the team is, I think, going to be a little bit smaller this year, right? When we look at their offseason, they brought in Chris Duarte, but they traded away Rashawn Holmes, who I think is actually going to be very good for Dallas. Honestly, the situation just kind of dwindled away, and him really just being a rim running big doesn't really fit what Mike Brown wants to do with their big. So it makes sense that, he moves on, the Kings move on. and hopefully he can succeed there with the Mavericks. And then they also lost Chimezie Metu to the Phoenix Suns, and have not, as for guys they haven't re-signed, Terrence Davis, Matthew Dellavedova, PJ Dozier, and Nemanja Skita. But yeah, so definitely some size that they're losing there, which, like I said, they could be a little bit of a smaller team this year. I don't know a ton about their rookies. They took Colby Jones with the 34th pick, Jalen Slauson, however you say his name, with the 54th pick, and then Sasha Vezevikov with the 57th pick. So yeah, I don't know a ton about their rookies. I think bringing in Chris Duarte will also be beneficial for this team. He's kind of another, shooter mold guy that can catch fire, kind of at the likes of Malik Monk or Kevin Huerter that they already have on the roster, right? Maybe Davion Mitchell takes a little bit more of a step this year as well. But I think the big thing for this team, it's not like they're going to have a top draft pick anymore, right? We know that they can win games now. And so I think the big thing for this team is going to be, hey, Keegan Murray, step up. You were a top 5 pick for us. We need you to turn into a star and, essentially be Sacramento's big 3. I would say that in quotes. I don't know if these 3 guys are all at the level, especially if Keegan takes this jump that I'm presuming, right, or projecting potentially. I don't know if those 3 guys are quite at the level that you'd call a big 3, but it'd be essentially Sacramento's big 3. And if he can take that leap, they definitely can make a deep playoff run. It kind of reminds me of when Atlanta a few years ago was able to make that deep playoff run where they went to the conference finals. You've got, De'Aaron Fox as your Trae Young, right? I believe Atlanta still had Capella. Yeah, Atlanta had Capella at that point where, monster defensively. Sabonis is more the offensive counterpart to that, I would say. At least, I would say Sabonis' offense is probably comparable to Capella's defense in the right scenario, right? And then Keegan Murray would kind of just be your third guy that lights up. You still have Kevin Huerter, who goes from Atlanta to Sacramento, which is kind of funny when you're looking at that comparison. But yeah, there's not a lot of other guys that you really see taking a step up enough to elevate this roster much more than where it was last season. And like I said, it's only going to get more difficult because teams aren't going to look at them as a team that had a 16-year drought anymore. They're going to look at them as a team that they need to show up for on a night-to-night basis, right? Aside from Trey Lyles, this team is pretty decent, right? And I just, like I said, Davion Mitchell, yeah, he might be able to add a little bit more to his game. From what we've seen, he hasn't shown a ton of progression on a year-to-year basis yet. I think he's relatively been the same player that he was since he was drafted, which isn't bad. That's a serviceable backup point guard that is a heck of a defender when you get him on, a premier ball handler in this league. Like, he can lock down some of the top guys and really get in their face, be a pesty defender, akin to the likes of Patrick Beverley and such, right? Although I would say Davion Mitchell's defense is much better than Patrick Beverley's. Maybe Marcus Smart would have been a better comparison, right? But a smaller guard that can lock up, not a ton of offense, right? In his rookie year, he averaged 11 points. Last year, he only averaged 5. Played 75 games his rookie year, 80 games last year. So he's been healthy. His minutes went down. His percentages went up a little bit on much less shots. But yeah, I don't see him taking a large jump. I don't think he's really shown that he'll take a large jump. He was an older rookie when he was drafted. But he's definitely still a good role player for him. At this point, Harrison Barnes has been the same player for the past 8 seasons. This guy has, you can go back to 2016, really, I guess, to his last year with the Warriors. So his last year with the Warriors, he averaged 11, goes to Dallas, averages 19. Damn, I didn't realize he was only 24 when he went to Dallas. Wow. But yeah, 24 when he goes to Dallas, averages 19. That was in 2016, 2017. And essentially he's averaged about 15 or so since, right? So he's really been the same player since 2016, 2017. Which isn't bad. He's a good role player. Draymond and such can make the jokes about we've seen this show before or whatever that they made in the playoffs about him, shooting and such. But he's a good role player. Will probably never live up to being a 7th overall pick. But yeah, he's not going to make a jump at 31 years old. Maybe De'Aaron Fox has another level that he can get to. It's definitely possible. I think he's kind of right out of that tier 1 guard for me, right? If you're looking at tier 1 guards in the league, Luka Doncic comes to mind, Steph Curry comes to mind, James Harden, Damian Lillard. Well, James Harden might be tier 2 now. We'll have to see how he bounces back this season. Last year was not as good as I would have liked to see out of him. He definitely, I think we've seen a little bit of a slide for James Harden. He's no longer that 37 point per game guy that's putting up like 13 threes on like 40% and dropping 50 every night that he was with the Houston Rockets. So he's no longer that. So maybe James Harden isn't tier 1 anymore, but that's a little bit of a tangent I didn't really mean to go on. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think De'Aaron's quite at that level of a Luka or Steph or something like that, right? There's a possibility he could take that jump. Right now, I'd say he's closer to the level of a Jamal Murray. I would say they're very, very close when it comes to how you would rank them. If it was a top point guard list or whatever, top guard list, however you want to put it. So, I mean, he has the potential. He's a 5th overall pick. He's probably the fastest player in the league. Extremely clutch. I mean, he got clutchest of the year for a reason. Like, this man was hitting game winner after game winner and constantly showing up down the stretch. I don't think Sabonis has another level to reach. He's 27. He'll be 28. Or I guess he just turned 27 a couple months ago. So he'll be 28 after this next season. I mean, he upped it this year. Like I said, his career average is 15. He averaged 19 this year. But he's pretty much averaged 19 since 2019-2020, which was the first year he made the All-Star team with Indiana. His 3rd year in Indiana, to be precise, if anybody wanted exact on where that was, and you weren't looking at stats. But yeah, I mean, he played the 2nd most games of his career this year at 79, only missed a couple games. Played the most minute, almost the 2nd most minutes of his career this last season, averaged 2nd most points. I mean, really the thing is he's a monster on the glass, right? And I mean, he gets a decent amount of offensive rebounds as well. And then he's a good playmaker, especially in the system. I mean, he averaged almost a triple-double. Maybe that's the step where he gets to being able to do a triple-double. Keegan's able to average 20. If De'Aaron can get a couple more out of him and just a little bit more of a step, maybe that's enough to put this team in the conference finals. I'm not sure. Beyond that, I don't know if this team will ever win a finals with this core. But they are one of the most interesting offenses to watch in the entire, association, and definitely a team that's going to be around. They are not going anywhere, I don't think. Sabonis, like I said, is 27. De'Aaron Fox is 25, about to be 26. And then Keegan Murray was a little bit of an older rookie, but he'll be 23 here actually in a few days. So the core is all relatively similar. I'd say they're going to be around this core at least of those 3 guys. Whether the other guys mix in and out. Obviously, we saw Harrison Barnes get an extension. Davion Mitchell's still young. He's 24, I think. Kevin Huerter's not much older. Same with Malik Monk. So the core will be around. I don't know how much success we can project for them for the next 5 or 6 years. But I would say this core is going to be around and making the playoffs and in the play-in for the next 5 to 6 years. And that's by far going to be the best stretch of Sacramento basketball since they were competing in the conference finals for Shaquille O'Neal. But with that said, let me know what you guys think Keegan Murray is going to be able to accomplish this season. Do you guys think that the Kings will ever win a championship with this core? And how difficult do you think they're going to find this next season? I'd love to hear you guys' opinions on my thoughts. And especially on this team, I mean, super, super interesting team. One of the best offenses in the league. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe for more. This has been Dom from NBA Now, and I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, guys.